Episode 5 picks up right after the small cliffhanger from last week. Caleb and Nathan's dangerous landing might have been resolved, but the emotional fallout is far from over. We'll finally get to see the aftermath of that tense moment, and honestly, it looks like things are only going to get more complicated from here. According to the early details, Caleb is struggling to process what happened out there, especially now that Nathan is back home and pretending everything is fine. But let's be honest. It's never fine with Nathan. The guy walks around with a mix of pride and guilt that just makes every situation 10 times heavier than it needs to be. Meanwhile, Amy is once again caught right in the middle. She wants to help, but at this point, I think we can all agree that Heartland has been overusing Amy's emotional rescuer role for far too long. Every time something goes wrong, Amy steps in to fix it, and while we love her for it, it's starting to feel repetitive. Still, there's a small spark of hope here. Rumor has it that this episode will push Amy to make a choice that could define the rest of the season, and possibly her future with Nathan. Now, I don't know about you, but that already sounds like the kind of drama we've been waiting for. One thing that stands out in this first look is how isolated the characters seem. There's this growing sense of distance between everyone at Heartland. Emotional distance, not just physical. Lou is busy with her mayor duties again, Jack is trying to hold everything together, and Katie is quietly figuring out her own place in this mess. And then there's Amy, who feels like she's stuck in a loop between her past and her possible future. The show seems to be hinting that she might finally take a big step, but knowing Heartland, they'll probably drag it out until the finale. The trailer makes it look like there's a new horror story that will run parallel to the main emotional drama, which is classic Heartland. But the question is, will it actually connect to the characters in a meaningful way? Because lately, we've been getting side plots that feel more like filler than real storytelling. And if this episode falls into that same trap, then we might be looking at another week of missed potential. Still, I'll give them credit for one thing. Episode 5 definitely looks emotional. There's a shot of Amy looking completely defeated while Nathan tries to talk to her, and it feels like the start of something big. Maybe a confession, maybe another misunderstanding, who knows? But the tension between them is real. You can almost feel that push and pull, like they both want to move forward, but something's still holding them back. And I can't help but wonder if that something is Caleb. After all, he's been trying so hard to pretend he's okay with Amy and Nathan getting closer, but we've all seen how that usually ends. So yeah, episode 5 is giving us emotional storms, complicated relationships, and possibly the beginning of a fallout we've all been expecting. But here's the thing, Heartland has been teasing big emotional payoffs for a while now, and the last few episodes haven't exactly delivered. So this one needs to hit hard. It needs to make us care again, to remind us that this show still has the heart that made it special in the first place. Whether it will actually do that though, that's the real mystery right now. If there's one thing that's already bothering me about this upcoming episode, it's how familiar the setup feels. We've seen this type of emotional tension before. Amy caught between two men who represent completely different sides of her heart. It's almost like the writers can't decide if they want to move forward or just replay the same patterns from older seasons. Nathan, for instance, keeps acting like the brooding, misunderstood hero, but at this point, that mystery has worn off. We get it. He's got a tragic past, he's protective, and he's scared to open up again. But Heartland isn't just about tragic men and quiet heartbreaks. It's about growth, healing, and moving forward. And lately, that message seems to be missing. Meanwhile, Caleb is stuck in that awkward space where he's not the bad guy, but also not the person you want to root for anymore. He's been written into this weird corner where his every action feels like a bad decision. And it's frustrating because we know he's capable of more. Remember how strong and grounded he used to be? Now it's like the writers can't decide whether to make him a mentor, a romantic rival, or comic relief. It's all over the place. And as a longtime fan, watching that decline hurts. But maybe that's the point of this episode, to break things down before building them back up again. There are hints that Nathan might face a real turning point in episode 5. From what's been teased, he'll be spending more time with the Flemings, especially Amy, and that's when the emotional walls start cracking. There's a scene where he's talking to Jack about second chances, and you can just feel that this moment is going to mean something. Jack, as usual, plays the voice of reason. He reminds Nathan that life doesn't wait for you to heal. You have to take your shot when it's right in front of you. That's such classic Jack advice. And it hits hard because it's true not just for Nathan, but for Amy too. The thing is, Amy has been stuck in this cycle of almost healing for far too long. Every time she takes a step forward, something drags her back to Ty's memory. And while that's understandable, it's also starting to weigh down the show's pacing. Fans want to see her happy again, genuinely happy, and episode 5 might finally be the step in that direction. Or, knowing Heartland, it could just be another tease that leads nowhere. Another interesting detail about this episode is Amy's new client, the Olympian whose horse she's supposed to train. From the early looks, this subplot might actually connect to her main story more than it seems. Apparently, Amy struggles to identify what's wrong with the horse, and that failure starts to shake her confidence. The Olympian begins spreading rumors about her being out of touch, saying that Heartland's methods are outdated. And that's where the real conflict lies. It's not just about the horse, it's about Amy's identity. She's always been the horse whisperer, the one who could solve any problem with patience and intuition. So when that's questioned, it's like the foundation of who she is starts to crack. And honestly, that's what makes this storyline so interesting. It's not about whether Amy can fix another horse. It's about whether she can fix herself after everything she's lost. Nathan, of course, steps in to defend her, which I'm sure will make their bond even stronger, but I can already sense that this will cause more tension with Caleb. Because let's face it, Caleb isn't the type to sit back and watch someone else be Amy's hero. Now, here's where things start to get tricky. There are rumors that episode 5 will feature a moment between Nathan and Amy that could change their dynamic forever. Some fans believe he might finally confess his feelings, while others think he'll back off at the last second, realizing that Amy isn't ready. Personally, I think Heartland might go for the emotional cliffhanger approach. They'll probably give us a near confession scene, something that feels like a breakthrough, only to cut it short before anything actually happens. Because that's exactly the kind of emotional slow burn they love to torture us with. Still, that kind of moment could add the spark this season desperately needs. After all, we've been waiting for something real to happen between them for episodes now, and it's time for the show to stop holding back. It doesn't even have to be a full-blown romance yet. Just an honest moment where they finally drop their guards would be enough. Something that feels raw, genuine, and earned. The overall tone of episode 5, judging by the previews, feels heavier than usual, and not in a bad way. It's like the calm before the storm, the build-up before something bigger hits in the second half of the season. There's a sense that relationships will shift, loyalties will be tested, and maybe even a few secrets will come to light. The problem, though, is that Heartland has been teasing this major shift for a while now without delivering the real punch, so the pressure is definitely on. Fans are watching closely, hoping for a payoff that feels worth all the waiting. Whether it's Amy taking a real emotional leap, Nathan showing genuine vulnerability, or Caleb finally facing the truth about his feelings, something has to give. Because if episode 5 ends up being another filler that builds tension only to resolve it in a safe, predictable way, then I fear we're in for another round of disappointment. And honestly, Heartland can't afford that right now.
The most intriguing part of episode 5, at least from what we've seen so far, is how the show seems to be setting up a quiet war between truth and denial. Every character is walking on eggshells, trying not to say what they're actually thinking, and that's where the tension lives. You can feel that something is brewing underneath the surface, and honestly, that's the kind of subtle drama Heartland used to do so well. There's a rumor that one of the key scenes will involve Amy overhearing something she wasn't supposed to, possibly a conversation between Caleb and Nathan about her. And if that's true, it could finally push her to confront both of them. I mean, how many times have we seen Amy stuck in the middle, letting everyone else speak for her feelings? It's about time she takes control of her own story again. Because right now, it feels like everyone else is deciding what's best for her while she just tries to keep the peace. That's not the Amy we fell in love with. The old Amy was brave enough to call people out, to make choices that scared her but also helped her grow. So, if episode 5 is finally bringing that version of Amy back, I'm all in for it. But there's another layer here that makes things even more complicated. The question of trust. The show has been teasing this theme for a while now, and it looks like episode 5 is going to bring it front and center. After everything that happened with Ashley and Caleb, trust has become this fragile thread holding the group together. Ashley's been struggling with her past, and Caleb's been walking on thin ice trying to prove that he's changed. Yet deep down, we know he hasn't been fully honest. Not with her, not with himself, and definitely not with Amy. That's what makes his presence in this episode so tense. Every time he shows up, you can almost feel the unspoken history hanging in the air. And as much as I like Caleb as a character, it's hard not to notice how his unresolved feelings keep dragging everyone down. He says he's over Amy, but then every action proves otherwise. And let's be real. It's exhausting. Either move on or admit it. This half-in, half-out attitude is what's making everything so messy right now. Meanwhile, Nathan is trying to do the right thing, but his version of doing the right thing always seems to create more problems. He's protective to a fault, always jumping in to save people even when they don't ask for it. And while that sounds noble, it also shows how much he's still driven by guilt. He couldn't save Ty, he couldn't fix his own past mistakes, and now it feels like he's overcompensating by trying to be everyone's hero. In episode 5, that side of him might finally catch up. There's talk that he'll face backlash for defending Amy too aggressively against the Olympian. Some fans think he'll say something out of anger, something that will make things even worse for Amy's business. And if that happens, it could drive a wedge between them right when they're starting to connect. I honestly wouldn't be surprised. Heartland loves to build up emotional moments just to tear them down seconds later. It's what keeps the drama alive, even if it sometimes drives us crazy. Now, let's talk about Jack, because let's face it, he's always the emotional anchor of this show. Even when the younger characters spiral into chaos, Jack somehow brings everything back down to earth. From what's been teased, episode 5 will give him a few quiet but powerful moments. He'll probably be the one trying to talk sense into everyone, reminding them what truly matters. But even Jack seems tired now, like he's watching the same mistakes play out over and over again. And honestly, I don't blame him. The Heartland Ranch used to feel like a place of healing, but lately it feels like a storm that never ends. Everyone's fighting their own battles, and no one's actually listening to each other anymore. That emotional disconnect has been growing for a while, and episode 5 might be the point where it finally bursts, because you can't keep pushing people away forever without something breaking. What makes all this even more interesting is how the show uses small moments to tell big stories. The previews show Amy brushing a horse while lost in thought, Nathan watching her from a distance, and Caleb standing nearby. That single image already says so much. 3 people, 3 hearts, all tied to each other in ways they can't admit. And that's the thing. Heartland doesn't need explosions or shocking twists to be powerful. It just needs honest emotion. The question is, can it still deliver that honesty? Because lately, it's been trading emotional depth for surface-level drama, and the fans are noticing. We want those quiet, meaningful scenes back. The ones that used to make us cry not because something tragic happened, but because it felt real. That's the Heartland magic that seems to be slipping away, and I'm really hoping episode 5 finds a way to bring it back. If it does, this episode could mark a real turning point for season 19. If it doesn't, then we might have to accept that Heartland is no longer the show we once knew. Either way, it's going to be an emotional ride, the kind that makes you hold your breath and question every character's choice. And that's exactly why fans are both nervous and excited right now. There's hope, but there's also fear. Fear that this might be another missed opportunity. And to be honest, that fear alone is what's keeping us all glued to the screen waiting to see what happens next. By the time episode 5 reaches its midpoint, things are expected to get really heavy. This isn't just another week at Heartland where problems magically solve themselves by the end. From what's been hinted, we might finally see Amy pushed to her breaking point. Not by some external villain, but by the pressure of carrying everyone else's burdens. And honestly, that's been building for a long time. Every season since Ty's passing, Amy's been trying to be everything to everyone. A mother, a horse trainer, a daughter, a friend, a leader. But what happens when even she starts to question if she can keep doing it all? That's the emotional weight episode 5 seems ready to explore, and personally, I think it's long overdue. Because if we're being honest, Amy's strength has always been her greatest gift. but it's also her biggest curse. She never lets herself break. She never lets herself fall apart, and sometimes that's exactly what she needs to do to grow. Meanwhile, Nathan's role in this episode feels like a double-edged sword. On one hand, he's trying to be supportive, standing by Amy when others doubt her. On the other hand, he's still fighting his own demons. That constant need to prove himself. There's a moment teased in the first look where he and Amy are arguing near the stables, and even though it's a short clip, you can sense that the argument isn't really about the horse or the rumors or even their relationship. It's about something deeper. Fear. Fear of failure. Fear of being alone again. Fear of caring too much. And that's what makes this storyline so powerful when done right. It's not about who ends up with who, it's about two broken people trying to figure out how to move forward without losing the last pieces of themselves in the process. Still, the question remains. Will Heartland let that emotional truth unfold naturally, or will it rush things for the sake of an easy resolution? Because lately, that's been the show's biggest issue. It builds up these amazing, emotional moments, only to resolve them in 2 minutes with a quick apology or a convenient twist. And that's what fans are tired of. We don't want perfection, we want honesty. Back at the ranch, things don't seem any calmer either. Lou is caught between her mayoral responsibilities and family drama again. Lisa's trying to hold everyone together, but even she seems to be reaching her limit. Katie, on the other hand, might finally be stepping into her own spotlight. Remember Dex, the new ranch hand who seemed completely out of place at first? Well, rumor has it, his story is going to evolve in a way that mirrors early Amy and Ty moments. There's this quiet chemistry between him and Katie that feels intentional. And honestly, that's something I actually like about this season. Even when the main story stumbles, the younger characters bring a sense of freshness that reminds us of the show's roots. Dex's backstory, his struggles with failure, and the way Katie sees past his mistakes, it's all classic Heartland storytelling. Simple, human, and heartfelt. If the writers can develop that properly, it might give fans something to believe in again. Something new to root for, especially as the older storylines start to feel stretched thin. But back to the main drama. Things between Amy, Nathan, and Caleb are bound to explode soon. You can't keep 3 people in that much emotional tension without something giving way. I wouldn't be surprised if episode 5 sets up the moment that changes everything, whether it's a confrontation, a confession, or a choice that finally gets made. There's no denying that the emotional storm is coming. Amy might have to finally draw a line, to tell Caleb that he can't keep hovering around pretending everything's fine, and to tell Nathan that she needs space to figure out what she truly wants. And if that happens, it could be the raw, vulnerable Heartland moment we've been waiting for all season. Because let's face it, the show feels so much stronger when its emotions feel earned. I don't want another surface-level misunderstanding or a quick happy ending. I want that uncomfortable, quiet kind of honesty that makes you stop and think, yeah, this feels real.